Hello and welcome to a little bit of Raid Radio, everyone's favorite. Today we have, as always, the lovely, the often imitated, rarely anticipated Ro, and we have special guests here who I would consider a class expert on several classes. My main man Crimson here. Today he's going to be talking about Priest, like a little bit of Shadow, and then he's going to be talking about Resto Druid and then some Rogue. Introduce yourself, Crimson. Tell them about yourself.
All right. I've been playing since BC. I've always mained Resto Druid and Rogue, but also started off Legion maining Shadow Priest, and I play a bunch of different classes and do a lot of research on them. Try to and I do a lot of theory crafting for other people of classes that I don't play too. So
Yeah,
just
Crimson is a little bit of an innovator, I think. Like I'll see him, he'll be wearing a legendary that everyone says is trash, and then 2 months later it's BIS.
Yeah, he's that guy.
He's an innovator. So
like the Resto Druid helm.
like the
I
rest of Druid
wore
help.
that when it first came out. Loved it. It came in handy in a ton of situations,
So
and
you've been
it was rated one of the worst legendaries that you could get.
and now
Still
it's
rock it.
BIS.
Then, yeah, it's now classified as top tier.
Now
So, what makes you find something like that and want to wear it?
I honestly just thought the effect was a lot of fun. I really like consistency, but at the same time, when you just proc a random tree form and hey, it fucking can proc at like the perfect time when everyone's low, say a Grievous week, for example.
Mhm.
And so you need to get everyone topped off real quick. Hey, Tree of Life just procced, just fucking spam out a few regrowths and stuff, and everyone's topped off. And sometimes, like, it will proc like three regrowths back to back, or not regrowths, wild growths back to back to back. So you essentially have like fucking 30, 40 seconds of tree of life.
All right, so it's safe to say that Crimson knows his stuff there, Dab. Dab, are you there?
I think he might have dropped out.
Yeah, Dab's been having some internet issues, so I think he was on his phone, but I'm not sure what happened there. All right, so Crimson, do we want to go over the class changes here for BFA?
Alright, let's do it. I guess I'll start off with a little bit of Shadow Priest. Uh, Actually, quite a bit of changes with Shadow Priest. One of the changes that I'm actually a big fan of is the Mastery change. It no longer just affects your dots, but it's also affecting basically all your abilities, which is a good change. And anyone that's actually going over and looking at the changes, you'll see like the spell power decrease. That's to compensate with the stat squish that's going to happen on all the stats. So people don't really need to fret too much over that. I'm also a big fan of bringing back Leap of Faith, mainly because yeah, a lot of people use it for trolling, but it can also be used for a
Yeah.
lot of positive influences. So I know progressing in HFC on Manaroth last X pack as a Shadow Priest, I'd go, oh, okay, this dude's gonna get knocked off because he's starting way far back there and he's got the knockback. Group him up here to me. He's good to go, doesn't die, saves the raid. Little things like that.
and of
Utilizing
course you
class
can always
utility.
leap of faith people into bad places too for fun.
Oh yeah,
You know.
I
Yeah, a
already
lot of
said that
trolling.
for trolling.
Oh, did you?
But no, well, only on break. If we were on break and people went AFK, then I'd leap of faith them into like green lava pools. But no, it's people. I don't think they utilize their class utility enough. Example on uh, Iminar, the trap dude in fucking Antorus. A lot of priests, shadow priests, they're not going to take the time to mass dispel off the sleep canister. I hunt
Right.
for it. I try to get it as soon as I can because A, it's giving me a Suffuse proc, so that's awesome. But B, it's saving the healer's mana, and hell, I don't use mine for anything else. So,
And the sleep
but
canister is just goddamn annoying as well.
Yeah, it is, and um, I think this is another area where the leap of faith can actually be very useful. Is like you can pull people out who've been sleeped. Also, it's useful in like a boss fight like Coven or something where people are out so far away from a storm. If you know if you want to pull them in, of course.
or if they're
And
not paying attention and standing in the center during Kaskaroth's little flame attack,
yeah,
that Dab loves to stand
sure. And I mean, I wouldn't know anyone who I wouldn't know anyone who'd want to do that. I mean, I was just trying to proc my cloak, of course, and yeah. Any other days? Is there any other major shadow changes
in.
which you're either looking forward to or maybe you're not so happy about? Is there anything about
I'm
shadow that's like kind of ooving you
there's
about the next expansion you're not looking forward to?
there's actually quite a few I'm not looking forward to, but an interesting one that I want to see how they play out is they are bringing back Flash Hill for Shadow, but they're also keeping Shadow Mend. Flash Hill isn't going to heal as much as Shadow Mend, but it's going to put that dot on you that you take. Well, it goes away from all sources of damage, which a lot of people don't pay attention to. So you can Shadow Mend yourself while you're taking damage, and that dot's not going to be non-existent. Now, my inquiry is Flash Hill going to cost less mana? If so, then it could be more useful than Shadow Mend in certain situations. Say you're throwing out Body and Souls on other people, or you're mass dispelling. Flash Hill could be a decent little mid hill for yourself while you're mass dispelling because it's not going to burn through as much mana.
I think the
Um,
advantage of Flash Shield also is that in like an arena setting, if somebody interrupts your attack and you're in shadow, wouldn't Flash Shield be holy? So wouldn't you also be able to use that if you'd been interrupted using one of your shadow spells?
yeah, you
Which
can.
would
Yep.
which would make it more akin to how a druid is able to heal themselves. I think I read a forum post a month or so ago about how shadow priests were really mad about like they'd get duked or something on one of their spells and they couldn't heal or do anything. Well, they'd see a boomy or something like that just run around healing themselves after you like duke one of their abilities.
Yeah, if you get shadow locked.
Uh,
They are bringing back Mindseer, which it's good and it's bad. It's good because you're gonna generate a lot of insanity with it, and but as far as AOE goes, it doesn't really hit hard. They're changing the way Void Eruption works too, which basically wherever your target is, it just does a little hit right there at the target and everything within 10 yards. Whereas Void Eruption right now, everything that you have dotted gets a massive hit regardless of where it is. So it's like really good burst damage.
but don't you think
And
that that's going to assist in like
it might
either
assist with group AoE, but
legacy dungeons, but also wouldn't it assist with like mythic pluses where the ads are dying too quickly to dot all of them?
uh,
Yeah, like a bursting week or
it
something.
it's still not ideal. Because you have to have the insanity before you can use it anyway.
Okay.
So, which is the same issue now. You have to get your insanity up. And right now, our AOE fortified weeks are amazing for Shadow Priest in AOE situations because for people that aren't aware of super in depth into Shadow Priest, you have to dot everything and then pop a Void Eruption, and your DPS is going to go from like 500k to like 2.5 mil to 3 mil in an instant just because of how hard Void Eruption hits. But you have to dot everything first. Honestly, in my opinion, they need to bring back Cascade. It was a great spell when they had it, and they could do like a shadow form of it. Like I know they're trying to do class fantasy, just have it like a shadow ball bounce back and forth between. Um, And I know they made changes to Shadow Crash to where it moves quicker and stuff like that, but it's still not ideal. Like, in as far as running legacy stuff, you're best to just go holy and just holy nova everything.
But doesn't that feel a little bit wrong to have to go to a healer spec to do legacy content? I don't know.
Oh yeah, and I still don't do it. I just go in as Shadow and spam Shadow Word Pain on everything.
Nah.
It takes a lot longer though.
Is there any other big changes to the two shadows we looking forward to, or I guess fearing for Battle for Azeroth, or is that about it?
They did change a lot of the talents, and they changed part of our execute too. They took out Shadow Word Death as far as baseline going, and it's now instead of baseline, you have to talent it, and that's like it's never been a talent.
Well, what is it going into a tier with stuff that you would actually want to take?
Let me scroll back up to it.
Yeah, sure. Take a second, because I mean, obviously, if it's in a tier where it's like it's picking that or a bunch of garbage, it's basically just to give me anyway.
Well, it's in the same row as Auspicious Spirits and Shadow Crash, which Shadow Crash I could care less about. It's meh. So Auspicious Spirits is I love Auspicious Spirits. I always have. Back when I was playing Shadow Priest and WAD, uh, I was always spec Auspicious Spirits, and I know like on most fights, Clarity of Power would or Clarity of Will. I don't remember. It's either Clarity of Power or Clarity of Will was like the go-to. Clarity of Power, that was it. Was the go-to for almost every fight, unless it was a council style fight. Then Auspicious Spirits would pull ahead. But as for my playstyle, I prefer dots, so
And
I
just
just
for
dotted
the
everything
people
Auspicious Spirits and
who
spammed
don't
it
know,
around
could
the
you
lake.
explain auspicious spirits to them?
Basically, every time your Shadow Word Pain crits, it generates a ghost, goes in, hits the target, and generates insanity. What it used to do is it would generate a Shadow Orb, so you were basically just dotting everything and spamming Devouring Plague. Now, they are nerfing it. They're nerfing the insanity generation of it, and I guess that's to make Shadow Word Death more appealing. Auspicious Spirits is probably going to be your AoE talent, and Shadow Word Death is probably going to be your single target. They're also changing Surrender to Madness pretty heavily. So, Surrender to Madness right now increases your insanity generation. You can stay in it for as long as you can. You can move while casting. It's pretty great. I loved it before they changed it.
You don't die anymore at the end of it?
The new changes, yeah, you don't die anymore at the end of it, but it only
Oh,
lasts 1 minute.
do you
So it's
do
no
you think?
longer as long as you can. So ideally, the way I would see that talent playing out is you maintain void form for probably 40 stacks if you can, but they're also nerfing void form, so I doubt you can pop Surrender to Madness and then see how long you can take it.
Do you? So okay. Do you between auspicious spirits and shadow word death? Which one do you think people are going to choose? Do you think it's going to be like a clear cut answer? Or do you think people are actually going to change it between fights or?
I honestly think it will be a situational. I definitely think Auspicious Spirits will pull ahead AoE. However, Shadow Word Death I think will be the stronger for single target fights that are pure single target.
Yes.
Um, and I know I just touched on Void Form getting nerfed, which kind of sucks, but they're basically reducing the damage you do during it by 50%, reducing the cooldown uh, reduction on Mind Blast by half, and reducing the haste that you get from it by half. So
Now,
there won't be long void forms. It will be quick, short cycles.
do you think they're doing that with the intention of making void form less important for? Because I know a lot of people have trouble maintaining and figuring out void form. Do you think it's possible that they're doing that to sort of curve the effect of doing void form wrong? Because isn't that like if you get void form wrong and you do it wrong, doesn't that totally mess up your entire DPS?
It does, but at the same time, it's more or less just a blatant nerf. I mean, we don't do that much damage outside of void form, so unless they like severely like buff Shadow Priest in general, then you're not going to be doing much. It's overall, I think it's just going to weaken the class as a whole.
Well, they're
Uh,
switching. Aren't they switching everything up to like attack power and spell power?
yeah, they
So,
are.
I mean, who knows what that's gonna do until we
Yeah,
start getting in there and actually playing it.
it might really change up all the damage we do. So, is there anything else about Shadow Priest that's really hitting you, or are you more interested in some of the rest of changes?
Nothing that's really hitting me. Other than those, there are a few other changes, and I recommend everyone go and check them out. Like Sand Lane is they're completely changing that. It no longer increases damage of Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain. Now it just reduces the cooldown of Vampiric Embrace. That's a pretty different change. However, it's not it's nothing that I'm really like. Eh. And then there's some other changes with our CCs and stuff like that. Mind Bomb looks like it's staying in. They're adding back Last Word and Psychic Core. Or I guess, yeah. But I guess I can move on to Resto Druid.
Sure.
Scroll up real quick. That way I don't miss too much. Uh, one of the before I get there, one of the biggest changes because I didn't see a ton, but one of the biggest changes to Resto Druid that I was like, huh, that actually makes sense because I like never use that anyways, except on one specific week. So they're taking out Healing Touch, and right now, literally the only time I use it is on Grievous weeks. I'll spec into Abundance, or not Abundance. Yeah, I guess yeah, Abundance. And what Abundance does is every rejuve that you have on out makes your Healing Touch cast time get reduced by 10%. So if you spec into Germination, throw two regrowth or rejuves on every member of the party, you have an instant cast Healing Touches. It just makes Grievous weeks completely trivial on the
And
Resto
then,
Druid.
so is Healing Touch? Would that be more of? Is that a high heal, high mana cost, or is that a filler heal?
It's not even a filler heal. Like it's I literally only cast it during Grievous weeks. It's a low mana cost. It's a decent heal. It heals about the same as regrowth, but the mana cost on it is way lower. But the cast time is like triple the cast time of regrowth. So and it doesn't put a hot on you.
Are you glad to see it go?
I'm honestly glad to see it go, and I'm actually really excited about the change to abundance. So I just explained what abundance does now. Or, but in BFA, what it's doing is it's reducing the mana cost of regrowth for every rejuvenation you have out on the target. And if you have 10 rejuves out in BFA, it's going to reduce the mana cost of regrowth by 60%. And that's
Wow.
huge. Regrowth is a huge
Oh
mana
my
intensive
god!
hill.
Druids are
So
gonna be
base
kings of raid healing.
so that's just ridiculous. The only other big change that I see is a talent, which I'm interested. Well, there's a couple, but Tiger Dash. And that's a new movement and speed. I guess they're trying to make it enticing as a. This is something you can spec into instead of Displacer Beast, and it basically gives you 200% movement speed for 4 seconds.
I had I had heard. I'm not sure if this is true. I think places. I think they're getting rid of it because they want to make Blink more special for mages. So I think Tiger Dash is the new Displacer Beast,
Yeah.
from what I
Gotcha.
hear. Which I mean
Yeah.
is I think it's interesting. Of course, not many. I think let's. I'm trying to think now. So obviously mages have blink, but other than that, there aren't a ton of jumps anymore because they got rid of the displacer beast, and I think there are a few teleports. But I don't know. I get the reasoning. They want to sort of build a class fantasy around mages. So to do that, they're dismantling other classes, but it feels kind of weird. Also,
Well,
I heard a lot about that. It's kind of based off the original cinematic of the game, where they're like, oh well, when you see the night elf running with in her wild form, she's not like teleporting; she's going fast. But I don't know.
yeah,
I think it's interesting. I am gonna miss Displacer Beast because, well, you could use it to cheat mechanics like Elisand in Nighthold. You could use it to blink through the rings and you wouldn't take any
Mhm.
damage.
I'll be glad to
Yeah,
see Displacer Beast
and
go, because in arenas it's
really,
infuriating when they just blink behind something and
I get what you're
Uh,
saying.
there's only really three more changes that I've really noticed in Resto Druid. One is a big change to Flourish. They're basically baking in the Essence of Garnier into Flourish, so it's basically gonna pop them simultaneously.
And is that one of your artifact traits or artifact abilities?
Uh, Essence of Garnier is the artifact ability,
Mhm.
uh, which I'm honestly, it's awesome that they're adding that to it. It makes Flourish a lot stronger, but and I know Flourish is best talent for raid healing as far as the top row, but honestly, I'm not a fan of Flourish. I've always I take it for raids, but other than that, on in any dungeon, I'll always take Stonebark over Flourish to add an extra external cooldown or increase the capability of my one of my
Mhm.
external cooldowns. Um, and they're bumping Stonebark down to the 90 row, which I'm a fan of, and Germination up to the 100 talent row. So I'd say,
Yeah,
especially for dungeons, I'll probably take Abundance, Stonebark, and Germination.
a fair few classes are getting their artifact abilities baked in.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I heard that discipline priests are going to get theirs. I'm trying to think of any other ones of note. Discipline priest is one of the things in my spectrum, but I know they're getting their thing baked.
Well, I think it's hard too. You go through a whole expansion with a new talent, and then Blizzard's just gonna take it away.
Oh, also, like another one where it's sort of an artifact trait being baked in. One of the golden traits, Cosmic Ripples, is going to be a holy priest talent now. And this is something that we haven't really touched on, but at least from what we can see now, it seems like the talents are only going up to level 100, which is odd.
yeah,
I don't know if that's just because it's an alpha and they haven't, well, because they on the alpha they haven't released a 10, they've only gone up to 113. But it's kind of odd that we're gonna be over 15 eye levels up from the last talent, and we're not gonna be getting a new talent tree. I Part of me feels like they're gonna add it in later, but I don't know. When they're already doing so many class changes, you think they'd do it now?
oh,
What do you
and
think about this Crimson? Like the smaller talent tree and it not growing?
Uh, Honestly, I've never been so when I quit playing right before Mist of Pandaria came out,
Mhm.
and when I came back, we had these super simplified talent trees. I personally miss the old school talent trees, and
Yeah, of course.
there's some older people that were around back in Wrathkata BC and stuff. I love those talent trees. I've always missed them, uh, but at the same time, by keeping it staying at 100, you're not getting that progression, which kind of sucks
yep.
as far as
Yeah.
talents go. However, it also keeps it from expanding too far. I mean, you don't want to look down at your screen and have to scroll down to get to talents and stuff. Or
Mhm.
they're trying to keep it simpler. I think, anyways.
Yeah,
Well,
but I hear the Heart of Azeroth, which is going to be the necklace we get next expansion, which is basically just our artifact weapon. We use Azerite power for it.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna
hear,
add stuff.
but I hear they're also trying to build it some
Yeah,
You
you still
have
there,
to
Deb?
be very thoughtful with the decision you make and which talents you choose. So I think they're trying to make that the sort of the new talent tree.
Hmm. I don't know.
If that
I'd
makes
like
sense.
to see a new row of talents in. I mean, because you don't have the weapon anymore. That's adding another talent. So
Yeah, I don't know. I would too, honestly, because I'm always a fan of new talents, and especially because they're taking like honestly, what if they just took everyone has what 4 gold traits? You know, maybe they're not all the best, so pick 3 best for every spec, and just have you be able to pick one of your 4 golden traits as a talent
yeah,
for like
yeah, that would
this
be
row.
good.
And that way you deal with keeping the important golden traits, which make things flow way better, and you give them a choice that I'd consider actually being somewhat interesting, and you keep all the good work that went into these artifact weapons that we have,
Yeah,
or at least some
and
of them.
I don't know about you, but when I used to level when I was lower level, I'd look at the talents, be like, man, I'm gonna unlock that later. It's gonna be awesome. So
Yeah,
now you don't. You get to we're going to 120 now.
the 120.
Yeah, so you get to 120 and you're like, okay, I got an achievement. That's pretty cool, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So, Crimson, is there any big changes for rogues that we need to look out for?
Uh, well, I'll go over them. There are a couple big ones. I'll go over assassination first, since
Yeah,
it's first on the list going down.
the old docket.
But no, they're changing mastery, how that works for assassination, which I'm actually a fan of the change. What mastery does now for an assassination rogue is it takes your mastery and it increases the damage you deal with poisons. Now, the change is it's going to take your mastery and half of your mastery is going to go towards poisons, and then the other half towards bleed. So it kind of spreads out mastery a little bit. You're not going to do as much damage with poisons, but you're going to do more damage with bleed. So it's going to balance out. But it's going to make your maintaining bleeds a lot more important, as well as it's opens up, makes other talents a little bit more viable. I mean, Poison spec right now is the top assassination rogue spec. Bleeds aren't that far behind it, but if this was in place at this exact moment in the game, then the bleed spec would overthrow the poison spec.
Mm-hmm. And what spec do you think, like, what sort of, I guess you'd be like, sub spec do you think is more fun, bleeds or poison? Like, which would you prefer being the meta?
Uh, I haven't played the bleed spec this X pack. I was playing sub last X pack and sub
Uh-huh.
most of this X pack, but Assassination's damage output is just significantly higher, so I swapped over. Uh, Honestly, probably the bleed spec, because I love maintaining dots and keeping track of dots and stuff. That's why I play Shadow Priest. Resto Druid, you have your hots. I've played Affliction Lock before, once again, dots, so maintaining and keeping track of like debuffs and buffs, I enjoyed that, and like that it makes it a little bit more complex when you're keeping track of it all. Especially if you're a scrub like me and you don't use tell me wins and weak ores to do it, and you just keep
Yeah,
track of it mainly in your head. But
yeah, that's what I do too.
I think it's funny because people are usually are like, man, they kind of freak out when I tell them I don't use stuff like that, and like, well, how do you play then? How do you get 90 percentile parses, 100 percentile parses? Well, I'm good at keeping track of it. It's not that challenging for me to keep track of it in my head. But going back to the topic at hand and some of the changes. Another big change, and this one's huge, and I'm also a huge fan of this because it makes me more reminiscent of Wrath of the Lich King. They're changing how haste works for assassination, and this also changed for sub as well. So right now, haste is complete garbage for both those specs. Like, if you get a piece of haste gear and it's 10, 15 eye levels higher, you might as well just throw it in your bank at the moment. I've got tons of gear in my bank, like 980, 975, stuff like that, and I'm wearing 960s because, well, haste is garbage. Because all it does now is it increases your energy regeneration. And on other classes, other dot classes, Shadow Priest, Affliction Lock, stuff like that, what haste does is it also increases your dot ticks, so your dots tick more frequently.
Yeah.
On Resto Druid, it makes your hots tick more frequently. Well, why doesn't it do that with rogues? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, a change in Battle for Azeroth is the more haste you have, the quicker your rupture ticks. And it not only ticks quicker, but it still maintains the same duration. It's not gonna, you're not looking at, okay, well, it did last 15 seconds and I got 5 ticks out of it. Now it's gonna last 10 seconds to get 5 ticks. Now it's still gonna last 15 seconds, but instead of 5 ticks, say you're getting 10 ticks. Those are just arbitrary numbers that I'm pulling out to just emphasize a point. But so that's a huge change.
So are they gonna keep it the energy regen for haste as well in BFA?
They're gonna nerf it a little bit, and well, not necessarily the haste aspect of it, but they're nerfing the way venomous wounds work. Just by a little bit, not a whole lot. Basically, you just get like 2 energy less from venomous wounds.
Do you think the poison is still going to be viable, or do you
Yeah,
think that bleed's going to completely take over?
no, I think both specs will still be viable.
Which is
Yeah.
good because I mean, at the moment, the way at least the way you're talking about it seems like bleed tech is not very viable at the moment.
No, actually, both are really
Oh,
viable
are
right
they?
now. When I say that bleeds fall a little behind uh, poison spec, it's literally by like 100,000 damage. Like if you're looking at 100th percentile parses for mythic boss kills,
Mm.
then poison spec on like Rothy is like 2.2 mil, and bleed spec is 2.1 mil. It's that close, but it's still the top DPS.
I get what you're saying.
Other thing changes, they're getting rid of hemorrhage, which is fine. No one takes that anyways, and they're adding back in dispatch. And dispatch was an old talent. Basically, when the boss is sub 30%, you use dispatch, and it's essentially an execute. It adds in an execute phase for assassination, and I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of execute phases. I think it's like, so I guess from a I don't know what if you want to say a role play perspective, but from like a class fantasy perspective, having an execute phase is kind of awesome because it's just like you're clawing that boss down.
Oh yeah, and you see
Yeah.
your DPS spike at the end, whereas most classes you see it spike at the beginning, and it's
Mm.
no different than with Rogue.
Yeah.
Like Rogue has insane burst, and then it kind of drops a little bit in the middle. But right now with Assassination, it spikes back up near the end a little bit,
So
and that's because people are using the legendary bracers.
with this strong execute phase, do you think you're gonna see people holding cooldowns for like a long time to try to like spam it all into that execute phase or no?
No. You're still gonna utilize your cooldowns as often as possible, but they're because especially with assassination, your cooldowns are on a pretty short cooldown timer anyway. So, like, No Vendetta right now is like a minute and a half,
So
and
wait, is
uh,
is dispatch gonna be like a click and it increases your damage that you do during your execute phase, or is it gonna be like an execute button that you click every so often?
no, it's basically so it's working the same way it did before. It's just a combo point builder. So instead
Okay,
of using mutilate for to build combo points sub 30%, you'll use dispatch.
okay, that makes sense. So it's
Okay.
not gonna be a huge
And
damage difference.
also your mutilate, when you use mutilate, if you're spec'd into dispatch, you have a 35% chance of proccing a dispatch that costs no energy, and it still builds combo points. So use mutilate, proc that, then you use that.
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting to play.
They're also baking in. Well, they're not really baking it in. They're throwing Poison Bomb in as a talent. And for those that don't know, basically how that works right now is you have 4% chance per combo point on your ruptures and venoms to throw a poison bomb out, and it does ridiculous amount of damage. And if you have good poison bomb procs, your DPS is through the roof right now. If you have bad poison bomb procs, it goes down substantially. Like, if you have 0 poison bomb procs on your opener right now, I'll do 5 million DPS. My highest when I had a poison bomb proc on literally every single envenom and every single rupture on my opener, I was bursting 10 million DPS in the last boss of Upper Kara. So it's completely can vary your DPS by as much as 5 million damage per second.
Are they going to bake it in? Is that what you're saying?
Well, they're adding it to the level 100 talent row.
Oh, okay.
So are they changing it at all, or did they just?
It's staying the same exact thing. And
Do
honestly,
you think
I think they should fix it.
Everybody would want to choose then.
I think it has the highest potential for DPS. There's another talent if you're going AoE that has a higher potential or more consistent AoE, and that's one that they're adding back in. It used to not be a talent. It used to just be a move in your toolkit, and it's Crimson Tempest. Basically, instead of using Rupture or Venom, it's an AoE finishing move. So it's a way to use your combo points and for a finishing move that hits everything, and it also applies a bleed to everything.
So do you think people are going to be using Poison Bomb for single target and then Crimson Tempest for multi-target fight?
I think that that's a very real possibility. Poison Bomb also has a huge potential for AoE too, though. But I think for people that want more consistent AoE, like I'm not relying on a proc that if it procs, I'm doing retarded amounts of damage, and if it doesn't, then I'm doing nothing. Then they're gonna go with Crimson Tempest.
Yeah, I've never personally been a fan of like classes or specs that were so heavily based on RNG. I could not deal with a proc of that much like vaultability.
I honestly am not huge into procs right now. I never have been. I've always been a more consistent. It does feel good when you have a ton of procs, so I'm not gonna lie on that. Like, if you just get proc after proc after proc, you're like, oh my god, this is freaking amazing.
Yeah, but then on the flip side of that,
on the flip side, if you don't get any procs, it's like, I feel like just logging off.
You feel terrible. Like you're playing your class as good as you can play it, and yet it's the difference between parsing 100% and parsing a 75 or 50%. Just because you were playing it as well as you could, but like end of the day, you got 0 procs. Well, some guy got a poison bomb proc on every single hit he had for the entire 10-minute fight.
Like, what's funny is I just experienced the same thing and the highs and lows of it in Dark Heart Thicket. I told you I was running 18 Dark Heart Thicket.
Mm-hmm.
But on some pools, like, I'm only doing like 2 mil DPS in this. I think I want to say it was a Frost DK. Yeah, he was Frost DK. He had like about 5 high levels on me, but he's like doing 3 mil. And then other pools where Poison Bomb was proccing quite a bit, it's like, hey, I'm doing like 5-6 mil, and he's down there at 2.5 to 3 mil. Feels good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is really like the type of thing where it's so volatile, and I think
I wish they would just get rid of that.
they
in
are
that
gonna keep it
aspect.
as a talent, like on the choice. I think, and this is something I think they should do for most RNG, make it like a diminishing return sort of thing, or not diminishing return sort of thing. Like make it like
Bad luck protections? Are you
yeah,
talking?
bad luck protection. Like I know that monks for dodge, at least now, that it used to. Um, before dodge has diminishing returns. Now it has sort of like bad luck protection, where if you don't dodge, it increases your chance to dodge, and it just it scales. So eventually, you're going to dodge. I think they should implement something
Yeah.
like that if they're going to make it a talent. Well, how would you feel about that if it was like every time you don't get a poison bomb proc, it increases your chance to by let's say 10%, 5%, something, and then
That would be pretty cool. My best way to explain to in order to actually fix it though, in my opinion, what they should do is increase the proc chance of it and decrease the damage. And that's not just my opinion either. There's other roads in there. A, you're going to get more consistent DPS. It's going to be about the same all the time. It's not going to be so reliant on one ability. And hey, it's going to proc more often, do a little bit less damage. It's going to balance out like that.
okay. What about the other rogue specs? Any particular changes that you're sort of eyeing on? I don't know how much you play combat or subtlety.
I used to love combat. I don't like the roll the bones. Right now, well, I haven't played it this X-Pack, but I've got 75 points in it and
Yeah,
stuff. But I still go slice and dice. I cannot
that,
roll the bones.
that's
Oh,
like me
really?
in
You
disc.
just don't like roll bones at all?
No, I will not ever spec roll the bones. It's pure RNG. It's, in my opinion, it's more RNG than uh, just relying on a proc. You're just, oh, shitty dice roll, roll the dice again, roll
Yeah.
the dice again, roll the dice again. There's people that literally will just sit there and use roll the bones for like 2 minutes in a fight until they get a good roll, and then they're like, oh, now I can DPS. Oh, now it's
Huh.
gone.
And those
Roll the
people are
dice.
probably
They're in.
addicted to gambling, so.
Yeah, right.
I can't really talk too much about Outlaw because, well,
That makes sense.
don't, I just don't do it right now. Uh, I'll be staying with Slice and Dice anytime I do play it though.
Mhm.
Uh,
From what I'm reading here, it looks as though Slice and Dice might be getting a slight buff. Just, I might be reading this wrong, but it seems like that Slice and Dice is going to become more effective, about 30%.
yeah, I'll probably play it on AOE fights,
Mhm.
especially
I mean, that's
later on. But
that's what combat that was the sort of role that combat was filling for a good while. It was being the AOE class
oh
or
yeah,
AOE
I
spec. I
I
mean, for
swapped back and forth, uh, progressing Mythic HFC. Like
yeah.
you take a first fight, which is just a trash fight. You always go combat for it. Second fight, you go sub for it. You could go assassination for it, but sub was significantly better in WAD at the end.
Mhm. I've
Then
always liked that. I've always liked classes where you are actively switching in between specs for like I don't know, figuring out what's best for the particular fight. I think switching out talents and specs is part of what I really love about like a well built class structure.
yeah, I agree. I always enjoyed swapping between combat and sub in WAD,
And
and it was just a lot of fun, especially like throwing on Blade Flurry and just going ham on like massive AoE pulls and or on trash, and then swapping back to sub for this boss.
what about for subtlety the next expansion? Do you know anything about that?
Well, I touched on it with assassination, but haste will also be not a complete garbage waste of time because it's going to make your Nightblade dot tick more frequently. They're also adding it back in. Hold on, let me find weakness, which I think is pretty cool. So basically, and I'm probably going to say the old abilities. Uh, what Find Weakness used to do was when you use ambush, it basically applies a lets you do more damage to the boss. It bypasses the boss's armor or the target's armor by 75%. And new ability is Shadow Strike in place of ambush, but it's the same thing. Uh, but they're reapplying that to the talent tree. So I really like that. I was a big fan of Find the Weakness, anyways. You can have ridiculous openers like that. Uh, Death from Above is staying in there, which I like Death from Above. For sub, you have massive crits on it if you're doing it right. I know back in Tomb of Sargeras, I was like critting for 20 mil plus on bosses and stuff. Lots of fun. And you're gonna get a similar thing with Find the Weakness with bypassing armor and stuff. Uh, so it will feel good that haste isn't just, oh, it's got haste on it. Oh, throwing it in my bank.
Yeah.
That's my biggest happiness as far as the changes on
Well,
both of those
it
rogue
is kind
specs.
of
Yeah.
interesting because now you're going to be able to, like, I guess, use haste gear more. But it is sort of the type of thing where this next expansion, because we're not going to have tier sets, we're not going to have legendaries, you're going to be able to, I guess, mid max your gear stats way more because you're not going to be locked down to wear a piece because it's tier, because it's a good legendary. So I think
Yeah.
we're going to have more control over our stats overall. So it's kind of interesting that even though we're going to have more control, they're making a change.
I
That will.
don't think that haste will be as good for sub as it will be for assassination. I definitely think it will be way stronger for assassination than sub, and it's only because sub has that one dot, and the main focus on that dot is just to increase the damaging effects of your finishing moves, but it will make it not as much as a DPS hampering. So it will probably still be your lowest stat as far as order of priority, but it will overall not be as much as a hindrance. So it's not going to be, well, fuck. It's going to be, it's not ideal, but I guess I can still use this.
Yeah, well, that's good. I think this has been really interesting. Obviously, we don't know if all these changes are going to be stuck, but some of them seem pretty solid, like they've really thought them out. Uh, Again, Crimson, thank you so much for coming and being here.
Yeah, thank you very
Uh,
much.
Thank you for having me. No, I
no
rambled on
worries.
a lot. I took
That's
up
fine.
basically your entire show.
We might be going a little bit longer today just because we have
Yeah,
so much fantastic stuff to talk about.
get
So
some
don't worry about it.
overtime in here.
Uh, and for anyone that does want to check out really, really in-depth guides to Rogue, check out a YouTube channel called Infectious Gaming.
Mhm.
He's
And
a little bit less known. I think he's got about 10,000 subs or something like that. But he is super up to date on every rogue change, does guides for all three specs, knows all three inside and out.
yeah,
He is a phenomenal rogue. I recommend everyone check him out that has any interest in playing rogue at all.
and of course, we upload this video onto YouTube. We'll put his channel link in the description somewhere, so you'll be able to just click on it, go over, check him out, certainly. But thanks again for coming, Crimson. Uh, now, Ro, we
Yes.
we've been hearing about how we're gonna be getting, we're getting rid of the artifacts. We're putting them
Yeah,
away. You want to tell me a little bit about how this is gonna happen, Ro? Because it's a doozy,
it
and
is, and
I'm gonna.
quite honestly, I don't like it very
You don't like
much.
it?
I don't
Well,
like it.
just an FYI, because apparently, according to Ro, we have to. I
Yes,
disagree, but he said we have to. This is spoiler territories.
it is.
So,
Spoiler alert. So
ooh, spooky.
yeah,
Like,
mute the
is this
stream, look away, or whatever you need to
a
do.
car? Because that's a spoiler. No, it's a spoiler alert. But I feel like you should sort of be expecting it if you're watching content about all the new stuff, of course.
All right, so are we ready for this?
Oh, of course. Tell me about it.
All right, so we've data mined.
No,
Well,
we haven't. The
not
internet
us,
has
but
for us.
yes, the internet, the community as a whole has data mined the video for this here, and it's just, I think it's what's
I'm
his
pretty,
face, the
you
diamond
were
guy.
saying this was new, but I saw this months ago.
This is the first time I've seen this.
Really?
It's news to me.
When was the article here released? The article was released 018. Yeah, a month ago. It's an old article.
Oh,
Still, it's interesting. So basically, what we have to do, if just to explain what you're seeing here, we got a big Sargerai sword inside of Silphus. If you haven't been paying attention, and also, by the way, if you haven't done the Silphus questline, all the stuff they have for the questline Silphus, ton of fun, highly suggested. And it's going to lead up to this anyway. But we have to use our weapons to like banish the power of the sword and like suck out all the bad stuff. But in doing so, we fill our weapons with like a bunch of explosive energy. And then that explosive energy is like why we're eventually going to have to put them away back into the vaults of which we found them. Now it's interesting because I'm wondering if we're going to get another artifact skin that's going to reflect all this energy in our weapons, but I don't know.
uh, what do you mean? Just
Like one closing out of the
a
expansion
hidden
artifact skin.
kind of extra thing there?
Yeah. Also, another interesting thing about this is that when you're gonna see when you was it like when you do this for
Instability.
yourself, it's gonna be your character who's in the
Oh,
cinematic.
yeah.
It's one of the, and it's also gonna be a bunch of random NPCs.
Yep.
So I wonder if you do a party, if you're in a party, if it's gonna how it's gonna work.
I don't know. I mean, why would you do it in a party anyway?
Well, I don't know, for fun. By the way, our artifact weapons are gonna be banging, so I hope you guys are ready to do some awesome stuff with it.
I don't know. I mean, the artifact weapon system was refreshing and new for Legion, right?
Sure.
So I just don't understand why you would just like throw it away. Essentially,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They could have done a lot different stuff. They could have made like instead of making it a linear path, they could have had it like branch off into different things where you get like one golden trait. There's like three different golden traits, and then you'd have to choose or something like that. I know people didn't
Mm-hmm.
like the artifact power grind, but they could have made that artifact power like a character bound
We're gonna
or something
well
like that.
for well they are next expansion. We're gonna have an artifact power grind again, except it's not artifact power. It's quote unquote Azerite power, so AP
Right.
anyway. And that's gonna be character bound though, and it's gonna be across all specs, and they're all gonna use the same items. So I think they're addressing a lot of the issues
I don't know.
people had with the artifact weapons with the necklace.
I like the artifact, and
Well, there's
it's
something
like
tactile
as
about a
a
sword or something,
like character
right?
wise, right? Like you're just gonna give up this super powerful weapon, like
Yeah, and
like I
obviously,
don't know.
guys, if you want the appearances for this, because you will be able to transmog all of the artifact appearances, get them as soon as possible, because you'd probably still be able to get the artifacts after this. After this, but when the new expansion drops, no. If you don't already have them, you won't be able to get them. So get those ASAP. I've heard some whispering that if you already have an appearance, you're going to be able to farm the different color skins for it in the future.
Interesting.
I've heard whisperings about that. I don't know if that's confirmed or anything. So I would be careful. I would say get any ones that you really want. Are there any artifact skins that you know you're actually gonna like transmog with next expansion?
Um, well, my warlock, I think the scythe, well, the mage tower skin, I really like that one. But the death knight for frost, anyway, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the artifact skins for frost.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna be using the Mage Tower Holy Priest skin. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that I'm gonna be using. Yeah, that's well. I specifically leveled a shaman to get the Doom Hammer, and I specifically have a paladin to get the uh, Ash
Ashbringer?
Ashbringer. I don't know why I couldn't remember for some reason. Yeah, Ashbringer, because I want those appearances in the future. Because those are the type of things that I think everyone's wanted to get their hands on for a long while. So I got both of those, and I might use those.
Yeah,
But at the moment,
that's not a bad idea too.
there's nothing particular.
I don't know. I don't know, man. I just want to keep the artifact weapons in the game.
You,
The thing is like we don't have to farm for the best in slot weapons right now, right? So when this all
yeah,
goes away, we're gonna be all fighting each other over some stupid
you're gonna have to. You won't have
sword
to
or
farm
whatever.
over the BIS necklaces next expansion. What's your point?
Well, I mean, essentially there is no BIS, equipment anymore unless it's a legendary, right? Because you have the mythic pluses.
Well, there won't be. Well, at the moment,
Yeah.
yeah, there's still BIS for Mythic Pluses. I mean, like Eye of Command is BIS for Rogue, even if it's a low eye level. Like there's still BIS.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about trinkets. I'm talking about because the trinkets have effects that make them really good, right? I'm talking about like your neck, pretty much any other slot. Because
Mhm.
I mean, you
Yeah,
have
no,
a
I mean there's
full
still
loot table, right? So you're gonna. I don't
more
know. There's no
options.
real solid BIS
There's
equipment
more.
anymore.
There's more options. I get what you're saying. Anyway, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with switching a weapon for a necklace. I'd honestly much more prefer getting more weapon skins from like random weapons than I would getting random necklaces. That's just
Yeah.
me.
Well, I don't know. I think Blizzard's just throwing something that was really unique out of the window.
You, I get. So we got a big change that I know you're gonna be super excited about.
Do
And I
we?
don't know if you've already seen, but we have customization options for Vulperan Mail.
Oh my goodness.
Vulperan, they've knocked it down. They got tails now.
Yeah, they didn't have tails last time. I thought they did.
No, they did not. Like you couldn't really see maybe in the screenshots, but they weren't. They were just straight up gone. But they got tails now, which is fantastic. You got a ton of customization options. You can make your Vulperian look however you want. I think now they look a little bit less like goblins. Also, their tails are not what I expected. For some reason, I was expecting cat tails, but those are like fox tails.
Yeah, they're really pretty damn big.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. The Vulperian is starting to grow on me.
Are they? I don't know. I don't know if you'd like them because that tail is going to interfere with the transmogs.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think you're able to change it. There's a significant amount of colors. We're gonna make your fur tone match your transmog anyway.
Yeah, but I don't know.
What they got a raccoons. I don't know. I think what you need to accept is that there's a lot of people in this who love Vulperian who are playing this game right now.
Well, I don't know. You think this is going to be an outlet race then?
Blizzard's still saying no. I've been hearing a lot of buzz from Blizzard that they're very wary about confirming it in any way, which is
Yeah.
weird. They're confirming orcs really quickly. It's odd. I think part of it is that they might be afraid of some, backlash. I guess.
And the thing I don't understand is like people are like getting hyped for Vulperian, right?
Yeah.
But when pandas came out, people were just like, you know, cursing
Okay.
WoW to condemn.
But here's the thing: it's a different game, man. It's a different game.
What do you mean? To, like,
Because we already went in Pandaland. We got what do you call it? We got battle pets. We got the cute little pets. Everyone's gotten used to the pandas by now. It's a different game.
yeah,
It's a different audience.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there's only one. There's only room for two furry races,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's the
I like how
warg
you
and
said
the
that.
Pandaria. But I guess we'll see what happens with these
Well,
with
it
these
is.
guys.
Somebody brings up something interesting in chat where like, yeah, if they made Vulperian a race, I know a lot of people would pay for a race change and a faction change if they need to.
Are they doing it to make money? Is that what you're saying? Or
I don't know if the Blizzard's doing it to make money, but I think that they probably take that into account.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm not a
I don't
huge
know if
fan
it's
of them.
entirely cynical, but I feel like they probably take that into account. Also, I forgot to mention this. But if we had our fantastic class expert Crimson in here this week. Next week we should have someone slated too. We haven't locked down who it is, but if you're interested in being a class expert, if there's a class that you feel like you know a ton about and you're ready to talk about all the new changes, shoot us a tweet at twitter.com/raid radio. That's capital R and R. I don't know if that matters. Also shoot us an email. Can you put the email thing up on screen, all the
Yep.
contact information?
It's
It's raidradiocontact@gmail.com. Can you message people on Twitch? I guess you can.
you can message this channel. So that's another option
Doesn't
as
matter
well.
how you do it.
I think
You
probably
get
the best bet would just to be send an email.
Yeah, shoot us an email. We'll keep it up, and obviously, we'd love to have you. If you think you're a good class expert, we're going to be trying to sort of do three class/specs at a time, and eventually over a couple weeks we'll knock them all out, or a few weeks. The thing is, we just don't want to bullshit you. We as much as me and Roan know, we don't know everything.
Nah, you don't know everything. That's surprising.
I know most things. There's a few.
There's a few that you don't know.
So, okay, you don't like Vulperan, but do you like Mythic Dungeons?
Oh, I love Mythic Dungeons. I think
Do you? What's
other
your
than
favorite?
Artifacts, that's been the best feature.
Give me a fuck, marry, kill for Mythic Dungeon affixes.
Let's see here.
So, for me, I would probably say this is actually a hard one.
It is
Something
really
like
I think volcanic or quaking's pretty easy to deal with.
no, not if you're a healer. I think volcanic is probably my marry because volcanic's a joke. I would say for me at least, like fortified would be my fuck, and then my kill would be quaking. I hate quaking.
I don't know. I really don't like. I'd probably kill teaming. It's that one.
Really?
Yeah. It just. I mean, if you tank it, because you go through the first time and you know if you've done it so many times, you know exactly what
The
you need to
percentage.
pull. Exactly.
It does
Teaming
mess up percentages.
fucks with that. So I don't like that. And then you have to you have to worry about more, more mobs, and that's just a pain in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd probably marry fortified, though, because
fortified. It's not a real big deal.
With tyrannical, it's really unforgiving if you mess up on a boss.
Yeah, obviously there are dungeons that really suck on fortified weeks, but like I feel like there are more that really suck on tyrannical weeks.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I don't know, Halls of Valor.
But anyway, we got a new Mythic Dungeon affix coming next expansion. You hear about this?
I did hear about it.
Something new. We got Blight.
This is a healer. Another healer one we got. So.
Which is they give healers. I would have thought they'd given healers enough to do, but maybe they want to keep piling on. So can you explain for the people at home what Blight does? A little bit about it.
So Blight is if you're at 100% health, you do less damage and less healing. But if you're under 100%, you do more damage and more healing. So what do you think about that? Like,
I think that's interesting. It's weird. It reminds me of the healer, assuming you're not Disc Priest, the healer Mage Tower, where there was during the last phase, you had to keep people, if people were max health, like there was a damaging effect that made everyone take the amount of damage equal to the percent, the percent of your health or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like you had to keep everyone at like a medium health, and it was weird. I thought it was interesting. I'm just wondering if this is gonna ever stack with like Grievous.
Oh, I don't know where it's fallen in.
Probably not.
I mean, they have like set ones for like the first, second, the third, right?
Yeah,
So I'm not
I would
sure what
assume
it's.
that they wouldn't. I'm assuming that it couldn't stack with Grievous, because that would be broken.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this honestly, because I
You're
feel like this is the type of thing where it's like, as a holy priest now at least, this may or may not be a thing next expansion depending on how they class it out. I can't help but basically heal people to full when I heal them, because
yeah.
like when I even if I like flash heal someone, they get a buff on them called Echoes of Light, which basically will heal them to full over the next couple of seconds. Because like 50 or 30% or 40% of my healing is done as a dot over time on them again. If I sanctify someone that's full health, like people would have to be smart and click off the healing buff, and I don't expect people to. And then I expect people to be yelling at healers because they're healing them.
Yeah,
It's
and I don't know how it's gonna work out with some like a druid or something like that. You
yeah,
know, that got a
a hot
ton of
base
hot.
class.
Yeah.
Because it's like as topic, you can't really like micromanage where it's gonna hit. You're
Right.
gonna people are gonna have to be smart and cancel the hot on them. But that's a pretty big thing to want to like expect of people.
Yeah, I think was it the paladins and the holy priests are probably gonna excel at this one the best.
Yeah. Oh, certainly. I don't know. We'll see. I think we're right. We're hot base healing classes are gonna get screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. So
So
I mean, I don't know.
another thing about Mythic Plus, it's seeming like we might be able to get items to adjust our sorry, adjust our keystones
Yep.
to
Yep.
whatever level we want. Not whatever level. There's multiple options here. So it would allow you to set a keystone to a different map, set affixes, and I think this is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, this would allow people on like normal people to
Normal people.
normal people. You don't even know what I was about to say. Normal people to set up mythic dungeon races, right? Because until this point, there's
um.
no utility for that. Like we wanted to have
Yeah. Yeah,
the
I could see that.
if we wanted to have the Raid Raider Invitational, and we for that we needed like 515 keys, all of Maw of Souls or whatever we wanted to do. Like to do that, we'd have no way of doing it except doing an insane amount of Mythic Dungeon farming to
Yeah.
try to get the keys.
Praying to the
Except,
RNG Jesus.
yeah, like there's no other way. But this might give us away. Now, part of me is a little bit skeptical about this. Skeptical, whatever.
Skeptical.
Part of me feels may or may not just be something that's in alpha as like a way for people who are doing alpha testing with just Keystone. I don't know if this is going to actually make
It
its way to
could
live.
be, but I would like to see it implemented. Like maybe after you clear 15 in time, you could have you can set it.
Oh well, no, yeah, I think it would be something like that for certain. I think it would be something. What I think it should do is it would be like you disenchant a stone. It's like you have like a 17, you disenchant the stone, and you now have access to like a 17 key or whatever. Or maybe you have, and then you have access to that map. So
I'd
like
rather.
if you disenchant a 17 key and then you disenchant like a 15 a 17 and then disenchant like a 15 key, you'd have two I think you should have two keystone like level sets, whatever the affixes are and whatever the dungeons are. I think that's how it should work. I think it should be a disenchant or something like that.
I don't know. I'd like
Break
to
that.
see it for like maybe inscription to do that.
Uh
You could
maybe.
just sell your
That's
mythic keystones on the auction house. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
that's a big give to inscription. A
Well,
big give.
yeah, but I don't know. I'd like to see it happen, but it also depends on the requirements they have for it. Like,
Yeah,
if
that
you
is true.
clear, you know, like you can't just go and set like a level 30. You have to actually go and clear it in time. Maybe something like that.
Mhm.
And maybe you have to do the mythic pluses with the affixes to be able to choose them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm definitely looking to see if we get more information on this, or if it turns out just to be an alpha thing.
Yeah, I
But,
mean, it definitely could just be an alpha thing
right,
for
because
it.
I feel like this would be something that you'd have an alpha. like to allow people to like pick what keys they want to test out, fixes and what have you.
Or maybe, maybe it's just maybe the affixes you can add an actual fourth affix to it as well. Who
Yeah.
knows? I don't know why you would want to do that, but
Well, I assume it'd be for increased loot.
maybe, yeah. Or Azurite. I'm assuming we'll get those for Mythic Pluses.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
def
forward to it. Like
I'm
I said,
definitely looking forward to see where it goes.
Mythic Plus have been one of the best things that WoW has had in a long time.
Oh, certainly. And so let's say that that Battle for Azeroth is tomorrow. You're in Alliance Scrub. We all know this.
Well, I don't know about Scrub, but yes, I'm Alliance.
Okay, correction. You're an Alliance quote unquote player,
Yeah.
whatever that might mean to you. So, what's the first zone? What's one of the first zones you're going to be hitting? Can you tell me about Drustvar?
Drustvar, huh? That's the
Give
first
me the
one.
lowdown.
So this one looks pretty cool. It has a lot of lore for witches and curses and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to this one here. And it looks like you do deal a little bit with the Proudmoors. So you get Jaina off the bat with her mom. That'll be pretty interesting to see what's gonna
I
happen
mean,
with that.
honestly, I like Jen as a character. I'm happy that we're going to get to see more of her.
Yeah, I mean I haven't seen her in a long time. I mean,
Hey, she was in Legion. She was just hanging out in the background.
nah, she did. She wasn't in Legion enough to where I remember her.
Right.
But I don't know. This zone reminds me of a lot of like Dustwood.
Yeah, isn't there going to be a witch hunt event, like a little bit of Salem
Yeah,
up in
there's
there?
witch hunt, witch trials, a bunch of stuff like that. It
I
seems like
I
it's
think it's
involved heavily with curses, so it's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
yeah. Honestly, I think all the stuff that we're seeing for Drustvar looks really cool. You know,
Yeah.
and of course we got Drustvar. It's cool. It's cool and everything. Does it really compare to Nazmir?
I think it's probably gonna be better than Nazmir.
I think you're probably incorrect. But just
I don't know. I don't know.
do you
So,
even know about Nazmir? To
no,
tell you about Nazmir,
well,
so you
what was it? Was it, I'm an Alliance scrub or quote unquote player?
yeah, and
So,
I'm a I'm a horde player here, so
player, I
obviously I'm the
guess.
superior
Maybe
group.
sometimes a healer.
Loktar snack bar over here. Um, now let me tell you about Nazmir. Nazmir is amazing. You got blood
It's
trolls. Who doesn't love a
amazing.
blood troll from now and then? Got a couple Zandalari. It's amazing. So basically it's a conflict between Zandalari and blood trolls. Now the blood trolls, they ain't very cool dudes. What they're basically doing is the Zandalari have Loha, who are basically their gods, and the blood trolls are trying to like drain their power or whatever, their essence, use their power for bad. So basically, we're getting into that swamp. We're breaking up them blood troll tribes. We're sneaking in, going undercover, pretending to be a blood troll. And we're basically going to be like, hey, trust me, I'm really a blood troll. And we're sneaking in. We're breaking them out from the inside, and we're taking Nazmir back for the Zandalari. Am I right?
Are you? I don't know.
What do you mean you don't?
I mean, are you?
Yeah, we're gonna stop. We're gonna fix. We're gonna fix the Nazmir, so it's what it's supposed to be.
So what exactly is blood troll? Have they touched on that or?
They're basically like they're just a troll race. They use blood magic, and they're a bunch of bad dudes. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sugarcoat it. They're bad dudes,
Sounds like a lot of bad news to me.
and I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think our first raid is probably going to be in Nazmir, so I think that our quest is definitely going to be very impactful to the storyline. Now, what I think is interesting that I I don't know whether or not we're going to get a chance to, if your lines play through the Nazmir quest line, because I know you're going to be able to go to Nazmir after you reach max level, but I don't know if it's going to be
Yeah.
like a thing where you still play through the quest line at all. Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
you would be
interesting.
able to because I mean, it's your guys' starting zone, so I don't know. You might. I mean, you might be able to, but I doubt it.
And we actually have what I would go something like a new change that I'm super hyped about in BFA. We're changing up the loot system for Legacy Dungeons. You know about this? Heard about this?
I
It's
do
amazing.
know about this.
It was a blue post. It was short and sweet and it fixed everything. So if you don't know,
Fixed everything.
recently when recently when they were doing the level change uh, with like leveling, they completely destroyed transmog farming. From what the blue post seems, apparently accidentally, which is a pretty big oversight in my opinion.
Yeah, because I
But
mean, Transmog is probably arguably the
most important thing in the world.
for you at least.
But basically, they made it so that whenever you do a legacy dungeon, it doesn't matter what you're doing, it's personal loot, which means, which is true that now you could only get transmog gear that was equipped for your spec, but at the same time, pretty underwhelming the amount of pieces you get. You get like 1 or 2 pieces. So they're now changing it back, creating a legacy loot system. So essentially, if you're in a 20 man or a 20 man raid group or like a 20 man raid, you'll get what would be essentially 20 people worth of personal loot.
So what's that?
However, it
like
will be
four?
randomized.
4 or 5.
What?
Is
Instead
that
of getting
is that
instead
like
of getting one piece,
yeah? So you're gonna get like 4 or 5 pieces.
yeah, 4 or 5, anywhere up to 10. Honestly,
10.
I've seen no, well, no, because it is. Cause it's like if every person in the group roll personal and pass you their gear.
Yeah. Well, that's I don't know.
Like,
That's a little far out there.
do you rate? How many do you raid with personal? With personal loot or no?
No, we raid with Master Loot.
Yo, we've been raiding personal loot recently, and it's not uncommon to see in a 20 man group or 7 or 8 pieces drop. It doesn't happen all the time, but a ton of gear is going to be dropping in dungeons, more than we've seen happen before. So
I feel like 4 or 5 would be a good number for this.
yeah, we'll see. That's probably going to be what the average is, I'd say. I'm happy about the changes, though. I think
So
I'm very happy about this.
so if I roll into, I don't know, whatever raid, will I be able to have priest items drop for my Death Knight if I'm doing it like that?
Hmm.
Interesting.
Anything can drop. It's the entire loot table. I mean, that's how it was before. It was only the last patch where they changed everything to personal loot. I think also, I'm wondering if you're going to be able to turn normal personal loot on for this.
I'd
I'm not sure.
imagine you'd be able to if you're running with people, but the interesting thing I see here is that, what was it? Oh yeah, if you have multiple players in the group, it's gonna split your
Yeah,
loot.
automatic.
So is that gonna make it where you don't want to run with people? Then
Well,
maybe.
no, because you can trade it. I mean, you can still trade it around.
Yeah,
Then
but
it's always value. If for transmogs run, it's always valuable to run with somebody of every armor type, so there's no wasted gear.
yeah, but who's to say that they're gonna trade it to you?
Don't douchebags by himself.
Yeah.
So speaking of transmog, there's some there's some trolls in next expansion who have some real good looking transmog on. A little bit interesting characters here. There's a top hat troll. Have you seen the top hat troll?
I have. It's this guy right here.
Yeah, honestly, it's it's odd. Not gonna lie, it's an odd
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
In this post, they also talk about they're gonna have some sort of they're gonna have a lot of abilities that are named after old. But I'm not gonna lie, I like this guy. He's wearing a Gildan top hat. He looks fine as heck. He he understands fashion
How do
sense.
you rate his transmog on a scale from 1 to 10?
Needs work.
Was that a 7, 6?
Yeah. I, what he needs to get is a blue top hat to match, or like a teal top hat.
Yeah, or maybe get a feather in there somewhere.
You know what this reminds me of? Do you remember? You know Total Biscuit, right?
I do know Total Biscuit.
Does he kind of look like his old avatar when he used to be a WoW YouTuber?
It's just the top hat, really, right?
Well, but he was a troll too, and his troll, I guess, kind of looked a little bit Zandalari.
Maybe, I mean, it could be something for Total Biscuit. Blizzard's
Maybe.
done that kind of
Actually,
stuff
that's even a
before.
good point, honestly. I actually didn't even think about that, but that's a really good point.
Yeah, the interesting thing, he might drop loot or be a vendor. So maybe he's gonna drop. Maybe this guy is gonna be like the dude we have in Dalaran right now with the strange coins.
Like the Mad Merchant.
Yeah. So that'd be kind of cool to see that return. I just
Now,
hope they add more stuff because right now I have like 150 coins per character. I have nothing to spend them on.
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think we've talked a lot about BFA. BFA is great, whatever. But let's bring it back to the current game here.
Are we going back to the current time now?
Going back. So what? So did you do the time walking raid when it was up recently?
Yeah, I did it.
What did you think about it?
Thought it was all right. I mean, I did actually. I got what an upgrade for my character. So
Really?
yeah,
Was it
I
like
got
a
a
time for it?
945. So it's pretty good.
I think it's interesting the way that they're repurposing old content. I wonder if we're gonna see a Cataclysm one come out soon. I'd be down for
Yeah,
Firelands.
I
If
think.
I was gonna see a Cataclysm one, I would want Firelands personally.
Yeah, I think when we say a cat, it'll be next expansion. It won't be anytime this expansion.
But what raid from Cat would you like to see?
What raid from Kata, huh?
For me it's Firelands hands down. I mean,
Yeah, I think Firelands is a pretty iconic raid.
I think a lot of people. I think Firelands
Cataclysm.
would definitely be a big fan. I think it's a fan favorite. I think it's a great dungeon, and it would give people a chance to farm a couple mounds. You know,
Yeah,
great loot,
if you don't have them
great
already.
great looking raid, ton of fun when it was current. Let's see. I think that time walking has always has received. Did you notice? Did you do time walking last week? You noticed the buff, right?
Oh yeah, and it
It
was
was
fucking
like
annoying.
it was insane. I could not imagine pugging that. Doing it with a guild group was even hard, and
I did it.
you know,
I did it
I'm
pugging.
in I couldn't even imagine. I'm in a guild with a bunch of what I consider really good players, and I could not imagine trying to pug that because things hit so hard. You know, healers actually have to worry about mana. Your tomb's so low. It's honestly some of it's harder than when it was current, even if you were low geared.
Yeah, I mean honestly, it's some of it's harder than some of the stuff in game right now.
Like honestly, I think some of those dungeons are equivalent to like a mid level mythic key for
Yeah,
puggable
I could
content.
see that. I don't know. The way I see time walking is that it should be pretty easy and be
Well,
reminiscent. I don't want it to
rejoice.
be hard or
They're nerfing it.
whatever.
They're nerfing the shit out of it.
Well, all I've seen is this Pitasaran nerf, and I
What
haven't seen anything else.
I think I think that that's going to be indicative of the nerfs that we're going to see. Next
I mean,
patch,
honestly, it's not
it's a
even.
50%. It's about a 50% nerf to Pittisaran overall.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not even worth doing the time walking right now. You're better
Yeah,
off going farming the 910s and hitting up a looking for raid than going to doing normal, in Taurus.
I agree.
And
Maybe a time walking raid because that might be hard, but like that's good gear that it drops.
yeah, it'd be worth doing, the old wars or whatever. So
And did you do the hard modes when you did Old War or no?
no, you don't get anything extra. So screw that.
Apparently those are too wicked hard,
Yeah, that's what
which
I've
rightfully
heard.
so, I think.
Only then there's no point if it's not gonna give you, better items. But if it's dropping 930 at that point, what is it gonna give you? Mythic, rating items like that? That would be
No, it doesn't
ridiculous.
drop anything better. Although I heard someone compare Leviathan hard mode to Mythic Garathi. I think
Really?
that's funny. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know how hard Mythic Garathi is, but I know Flame Leviathan on hard mode is a pain in the ass.
yeah. Well, let's see. What do you spend your time doing in WoW? You chill in Dalaran. You walk in circles. What do you do?
Well, lately I've been leveling, but
Leveling?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what I do in World of Warcraft, the game that we're currently talking about, and that I play very much? Yes.
Is it Transmog?
Yes, but do you know where I transmog? My
Uh,
class hall.
yeah.
I just sit there and I bask in the class fantasy. I like the class halls. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool,
Yeah, yeah, I like the class
especially
halls too.
as especially as a monk, being able to teleport it to at any time, having it teleport to Dalaran from it. I think some of the class halls, the ability to get to them is way easier than others.
Yeah. I
What?
like
What?
my Death Knight class hall a lot because, we get a portal straight to Dalaran, and I have a portal I can go to there whenever I want. It's a minute cooldown, so
Yeah.
it's essentially
What do you
another
think your
warp.
What do you think the best class hall is?
Uh, the best? Like the best
Best.
looking or the best, like,
Just best.
hmm. I don't know. I'm kind of partial to Death Knight just because how easy it is to get around.
I like. I get what you're saying. I think if I was a Death Knight, I'd like the Death Knight one best. Personally, I like the Monk one best because everything's very condensed together. You have a teleport to it and to Dalaran. Also, you have a teleport to Stormwind Gates, even if you're Horde.
Really?
But it's not intentional at all. I think it has something to do with the fact that the Monk Order Hall is like it's a um, it's a starting area for monks who can teleport to Stormwind. But anyway, I walk I was walking around just gallivanting, and I got teleported to Stormwind Gates on my Tauren and got killed. And it
Oh
reset my
no.
Hearthstone to the Stormwind Gates.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm happy with it. I got a Hearthstone to Stormwind Gates now.
Well, so I mean, you've liked the class halls overall in Legion, right?
Yep. I think
So,
I'd say yes.
would you like to see them extended into BFA?
Ooh, that's a hard one. Yeah, I'd want to see them expanded, if you know what I mean. I don't want I don't want new ones. I mean, maybe for like, no, I don't want new ones.
So
I think that
you'd want to keep the same class hall.
I want to keep them, but I want them to be updated. I want the portals. I want there to be portals to them from the new city. I want the portals in them to go to the new city. I want them to be relevant because I think it's awesome that you have an epicenter of your class. Have you ever been in your class hall and looked at the general chat in your class hall?
Yeah, I have, and it's
I've
filled with
actually
a bunch of trolls.
usually, but I've actually seen people actually being helpful with each other and talking about their class and theory crafting in those.
Really, I haven't
And
really seen
maybe
much
I've
of
been
that.
lucky or whatever, but I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome to have a place you can be with your class, and I like that for class fantasy. So I'd like to see them extended. I don't know if they extended them. I don't know if I'd whether or not I'd want to see them add more like class hall traits or whatever. I don't know. Probably not. I think that they should continue missions to an extent. However, make them not required at all. Because this expansion, they were required for
Yeah,
completing your artifact thing. I want them to be not required at all and just be a gold making tool that people can use. Next
like,
expansion,
well,
they've already said they're not going to continue the Legion app, so it'd be much harder to do mission tables anyway.
yeah, but they will have a mission table in BFA.
Think?
I've seen it in alpha or yeah, in alpha play. So
Oh,
they have it, but it's, I don't know. I'd rather see it in a class hall. Right now, it's just like out in the middle with, like, I don't know, some main NPC players. So I like the class campaigns and all that good stuff. I didn't like the gating, but I like the class campaigns and the lore and all that stuff
yeah.
you got to do.
No, it makes sense.
So I'd like to see that keep on going, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm gonna miss them. I'm gonna miss them with my artifact weapons too, Dab.
I know. How do you do PvP at all or no?
Very little. I don't know. The PvP right now in WoW isn't very good.
Have you done any of the brawls?
I've done a couple brawls, but Alliance usually loses them. So
Do that.
yeah, yeah. So I don't do them very often, but I've done a couple.
Have you heard about the new brawl, the Packed House brawl?
I have not.
Well, essentially you got arena, right? You got your arena map, and they just fucking have a ton of people in there.
Oh yeah. This is the 20 versus 20, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
It's just,
It's mayhem.
It's fun, but it's just insanity.
Stupid fun. It's a ton of mayhem, and I love it.
You just walk in and spam the shit out of your AOE. So
Speaking about insanity, did you hear about uh Mr. Ninja Hamburger, also known as Lock Clock, who got the world first Xavius kill? A solo?
I did hear about that, and
Isn't that insane? Wasn't there a like demon hunter who was soloing Nighthold or something?
I don't know. Is it
And
really
then I recently
that
saw one where
though?
Plot Paladin was doing Garothi. That's very impressive. You couldn't do that.
I bet I could do. I bet I could solo Xavius. Was it heroic or normal or what?
I don't know. I think it was normal.
See, well, if you think about it, right?
It was easy, then why is he world first?
Well, I mean, nobody's wanted to do it. Like, I've never thought of like, oh man, I want to be the first warlock to solo this fucking boss. But I don't know. Well, if you think about it, right? So Mythic, Emerald Nightmare, you need a total of like 3 million DPS, I think it is. Right? So, I mean, one character can pull that off. So.
But you have to deal with mechanics that could one-shot you easy.
I don't know, man. I mean, I give him credit, but I don't know if it's, as big of a deal as everybody's been making it.
I don't know. But you know what is a big deal?
What's that?
Raid Radio.
It is.
It's been a great episode,
around,
I think.
Isn't it?
Not really. It's not at all large, but I think I'm really happy with our guest we had this week, Crimson. I think he was fantastic. As I said before, contact us if you're interested in becoming one of our class expert guests. I totally believe that we should continue this series because I think that the class expert series is going to do a lot to really inform you about classes with no bullshit, and just be real with you guys. So I think it was awesome having you guys. If you missed the start of the show, or if you want to catch it again, you can always check us out on YouTube. We'll put there's a link to the YouTube on the Twitch channel. We'll also drop the link to the VOD on our our Twitter.
Yeah, and here in the next few weeks, we're gonna get
And of course, if you're watching,
if
you're watching on YouTube, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, it's always an option. It's been great having you all. Thank you for coming this week. We'll see you same time, same place. From starting 4 Eastern Standard Time on Sunday.
And if we missed any topics or anything like that, or something you'd like us to talk about, feel free to just shoot us an email.
Crack us an email, shoot us a tweet.
All right, well, I think that's it for this week.
It sure is.